All right, let's talk about the absolutely wild story of MoldBot. You may have heard of it. It's this lobster-themed AI assistant that just completely took the open source world by storm. And its story is one of incredible hype, spectacular meltdowns, and a really fascinating, if messy, look at where personal computing is headed. And it all kicked off with a bit of a mystery.
So the first clue that something big was brewing was weird. All of a sudden, developers everywhere started buying up Apple Mac Minis. I mean, they were snapping them up so fast it was actually causing ripples in Apple's supply chain. And nobody was quite sure why.
Well, the cause was MoldBot. It's an AI agent so powerful and so new that it has people totally divided. Is this the breakthrough we've all been waiting for? Or is it basically just super dangerous malware dressed up as a productivity tool? The crazy thing is, the answer might actually be both.
Okay, so to really get the chaos that followed, you first have to understand the hype. And believe me, the hype was real. MoldBot didn't just grow, it went supernova. Let's dig into why.
Just look at this number. Over 82,000 stars on GitHub in just a matter of weeks. To give you some context, that kind of velocity is practically unheard of for an open source project. It proves that it tapped into a huge unmet need.
And this quote from an early user just nails it, right? This feeling is what drove all that growth. People felt like they were genuinely touching the future because this wasn't just another chatbot. It was an AI that could actually do stuff, and that feeling is, well, it's incredibly contagious.
So what is it, technically speaking? Well, you can think of MoldBots as a gateway. It runs on your own computer, hooks into the apps you already use every day, and then acts as a bridge. It gives a powerful large language model, like Claude or GPT-4, the hands and feet to actually reach into your digital life and get things done for you. And this is the key difference between MoldBot and something like Siri or Alexa. They can answer questions, sure, but MoldBot takes action. It can triage your email, book your flights, manage your file system, even run code, all from a simple instruction you send over a messaging app. And get this wasn't just some niche developer project, it had a massive real-world financial impact. To run MoldBot, a lot of users needed a secure way to connect it to the internet. The recommended tool was Cloudflare Tunnels, and so many people signed up that Cloudflare's stock price actually surged over 20%. But you know how it goes. With that kind of explosive growth came an equally explosive series of disasters. The project just moved too fast, and it all came crashing down during this absolutely chaotic 72-hour period where everything that could go wrong did. I mean, just follow this train wreck. Day one, it gets a legal notice from Anthropic over its original name. The founder, Peter Steinberger, rushes to rebrand, but in the 10 seconds that takes, scammers grab the old social media accounts. Day two, a fake crypto token appears, scams people out of millions, and then poof, a classic rug pull. And finally, day three, security researchers start dropping bombshell reports about critical vulnerabilities in the code, a complete and total meltdown.
And we are not talking about minor bugs here. These were gaping, fundamental security flaws. We're talking hundreds of user instances found completely exposed online. One researcher showed that a single bad email could let an attacker steal your private keys in less than 5 minutes. The plugin marketplace? It had zero moderation at all. It was a security nightmare.
So this brings us to the core dilemma of MoldBot, and really, of all these new AI agents. Its incredible power is directly tied to how dangerous it is. You can't separate the two.
And this comparison just lays it all out. On one side, you have Siri and Alexa. They're built inside these walled gardens. They're safe, sure, but that's because they're incredibly limited. They're designed to protect the company's lawyers. MoldBot is the polar opposite. It's built to give you, the user, maximum capability, and that, by definition, means taking on enormous risk.
And this quote from a security researcher really hits the nail on the head. We have spent 2 decades building digital walls and security boundaries to keep everything safe. But for an AI agent to actually be useful, to read your files and send your emails, it needs you to start punching holes in all of that.
So why on earth would anyone accept this risk? Well, because of moments like these. One user's online restaurant booking failed. So MoldBot, on its own, found AI voice software, called the restaurant, and made the reservation over the phone. A developer built an entire app just by talking to his MoldBot while walking to get coffee. It's this emergent, problem-solving behavior that feels like straight-up magic.
But the Moltbot story isn't just about software. It's also a canary in the coal mine, warning us about a huge shift that's happening in hardware. You could call it the coming compute squeeze.
The data is pretty stark. The price of DRAM, that's the computer memory you need to run these AI models on your own machine, has skyrocketed. And this isn't just a normal market cycle. The giant AI data centers are basically sucking up all the global supply, and the chip makers are prioritizing them over us regular consumers.
And this brings us full circle, right back to the beginning. That crazy rush to buy Mac Minis, it wasn't just people getting excited about a new toy. It was savvy developers realizing that the window for affordable, powerful personal computers might be closing. They were trying to lock in their own personal compute before it gets way too expensive.
All of which leads to the most important question for you, personally. After hearing about all the power and all the peril, should you actually go install and use this thing?
To answer that, we have to be brutally honest about who should be using a tool this raw and powerful at this point in its life.
Look, if you are a deeply technical expert, someone who understands how to isolate a program on its own network, run it in a secure sandbox, and use throwaway accounts, then yeah, experimenting with Moltbot on a separate machine could be a pretty amazing glimpse of the future.
But for the other 99% of us, the answer is simple, and it's unambiguous. Just wait. The project is too new, the security model is way too immature, and the risk of giving this thing the keys to your digital kingdom is just far too high.
So in the end, that's really what Moltbot is. It's not a product you should use today. It is a preview. It's a messy, risky, and yeah, a totally exhilarating look at where this agentic AI is going, with all the guardrails ripped off.
This whole saga proves that the demand for AI that can truly act on our behalf is absolutely enormous. The technology is arriving faster, much faster, than our ability to make it safe. And that leaves all of us with a huge question. As these tools become more and more common, how are we, as a society, going to find the right balance between what's powerful and what's safe?